Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak coming to you live for today's Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak, as your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. It has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from the mental prison you find yourself in and build a life, a business, and or a career that you are obsessed with. And the one thing that is in your way, well, between you and the obsession of your life or obsession of your business or career is you. And the biggest part of you that is in the way of you really, really loving and obsessing over everything and showing up and being fully present is fear. And this is why the topic that I wanted to cover today and talk about with each and every one of you. Many of the things I am going to be talking about and sharing, you already know. So they're going to be more so a reminder and maybe for some of you, maybe even a trigger to go deep within, understand what is crippling you, what is causing you to stay where you are and not move forward. Good morning, Tammy, to you as well. Thank you for hopping on and being live with me. So today's topic is screw fear. You gotta learn to talk to your fear in the same way you would a person that has already pushed enough of your buttons and you explode and you say, oh my God, just F off, leave me alone. So screw fear and take back your power. You cannot wait around and sit around waiting for something to happen, for your fear to just go away and let you be alone. You must work for it. You must earn it. It's not going to go away on its own. If you're scared of something, do you think that fear is just going to vanish and then all of a sudden you're no longer going to be fearful of doing the very thing you were scared of doing? No. You got to work at it. Now, also, what if I told you that the fear that you have, number one, 95, if not 99% of the fears that you have are not even your own fears. They have been given to you. They have been told to you, they have been shared with you, and then you decided that you're going to be scared of that very thing as well. So, I'll give you examples with children, right? One of the things that I learned, and luckily I didn't learn from experience, I learned from others, and then I didn't do this. So when we were potty training our kids, one of the things that I've heard someone share was don't even talk about the potential of a monster being in the toilet. Meaning if a child is scared or uncomfortable going and sitting in a toilet, don't say, oh, don't worry, don't be scared of the monster in the toilet. Because they didn't even know that that monster even existed, that there was even a possibility of such a thing, that something can come out from the toilet. Now, in some countries, yes, that happens, but in the countries where we live, you don't really see creatures coming up from the toilet very often. Maybe in some states, yes, but I don't know about provinces in Canada. So the point of this little mini story is that this is how we take on fears as well. You were a child and you had no idea, you didn't even think it was possible that there would be a monster in the toilet, there would be a monster in the closet, there could be a monster under the bed, that there could be a monster in the corner, because you were always scared of monsters. And now, as an adult, you're scared of a lot of monsters that someone else shared with you, even through simple conversation. And you didn't even realize that they were sharing their fears, their worries, their concerns. And you didn't even realize that you took them in as yours. And it happens all the time. This still happens even with me. But the difference is that once you become aware that there is a fear, that there is now a new story that invaded your existence, your body, you don't want it to spread through every cell. So when you become aware of this virus, let's call it that, you then want to deal with it on site right away and not ignore it, not hope it's going to go away. So which means that the moment that you recognize that there is a fear that has been given to you, passed on to you from someone else, you want to deal with it. You want to work through it. You want to overcome it. You don't want it to become you. And the thing is, your fears are not you, they're a part of you. And in most cases, your fears are the very things that are going to be your opportunities for the growth and evolution of you, your life, your business, and or your career that you are looking for, that you're needing. Because everything that you want, that you say you want, that you're asking for, that you're hoping for, that maybe you're praying for, that you're thinking of, and then you're telling yourself that you're not worthy of it, it ain't gonna happen, is going to be on the other side of that fear. Everything. Now, let's rewind back to when you were really little and you were learning how to crawl, you were learning how to walk, you were learning about your surroundings. Depending on your upbringing, there's certain fears that you also inherited from your parents. So, fear of heights, for example, might have been inherited from the way that your parents reacted when you climbed to the highest point of your house or of the outside, maybe in the park somewhere, and your parents were telling you, "Oh my God, Yana, get down from there. Why do you need to walk on the edge of everything? Why you need to go so high? You're going to fall. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna break your leg." And they're sharing these fears with you, right? And it comes from a place of love and protection because they don't want to lose you. My parents didn't want to lose me and see me hurt, but I climbed trees, I walked on very high places, and then initially maybe these fears don't get you and you're like, "No, I do not believe you. I'm gonna do me and I'm gonna listen to you. I will prove to you." But little by little, these fears can get a hold of us to a point where you become fearful of heights. So when I started my online journey, becoming an entrepreneur through a multi-level marketing company, MLM company, where we're selling products, and one of the things that they had was events. So I decided to go to this event with a couple of other girls who were part of the company, and once in a while we still actually talk and communicate. We're no longer with the company, and it's not because of the company and their products, because those are great and those are amazing. Honestly, I will still, not that I use the products, because I believe in whole foods and not anything that's created in the lab, and this is the reason why I left. Because when my belief systems changed and I became more awakened and realized my values and my beliefs, I needed to make sure that everything was in alignment with the true authentic me, and everything that wasn't, even though it was hard to let it go, it was harder to stay. And it was something that was no longer in alignment with who I am authentically. So when I started this online journey, because there was an event and I wanted to go at least to one event and experience life in a different way, and honestly it was so much fun, it was amazing, and the girls that I went with, they just made it so much more funner. It was amazing. So one of the things that we wanted to do there was go ziplining, tree trekking. And I will tell you that for weeks, the moment that we decided we're going to go and do that, from that moment on, and until until I actually took my first steps doing the whole tree trekking. If you're not sure what it is you're you're attached, you're wearing a harness, you're attached, you're walking on a zip line, on the highest points of trees where it's still safe, and different kind of courses that you go through, and then you jump and then you zip line. And yeah, so I was terrified and petrified of heights because this was one of my fears that I was carrying, and I was ready to tackle that fear. And the moment that we signed up for it, I was riddled with anxiety. I was so scared. I'm excited for everything but the ziplining, but the tree trekking. I was just petrified because it's going to be so high. And then what happened was, and this is one of the things that you start to notice when you tackle your fears, when you go after your fears. You got to start making a list, by the way. Start making a list of these fears that you have. And then start questioning them. How realistic are these fears actually? So what I realized is that when I started going down this tree trekking, climbing up, the moment that I had the harness and I was attached, it's almost like the fear just dissipated. And I was like, I'm going first. I wanted to go first. I was so excited. I was no longer fearful. I was excited for the whole of everything, even though we couldn't see everything of what I was going to do, where I was going to go, but I wanted to be first. That's how not scared I was at this point, because that was the point that I realized how unrealistic my fear was. I was scared of something that I was making up in my mind. It's almost like that I was going to be thrown from an airplane, which that's not how it is. And if you've gone even rock climbing, you know the gear is there to protect you as well. So went through the whole entire thing, but there was one moment that I was scared to do, and that's the one where you're standing on the ledge and pretty far away, or at least to me it seemed like it was like miles and miles away, which I know it wasn't. It was probably maybe 6 feet away, maybe 10 feet away, I don't know, maybe 20 feet away. Now that I think about it, it's like, the more I think about it, the further that net moves. But it was a net, kind of like a spider net. You have squares throughout the whole entire net. And and because I was first, everybody's waiting for me. Luckily, it was just the 3 of us, plus our guide. And they're waiting for me to jump. Because you gotta go and take that essentially leap of faith and jump onto this net. Now, I also learned another lesson of what hesitation does and how much you can get hurt when you hesitate, when you do not take that leap of faith. And as I'm sharing this story, I want you to start connecting the dots as to what have you experienced in your life that might be similar to what I'm talking about. Not exactly the same, but similar in a way of there was a moment when you were meant to take a leap of faith and you hesitated. And because you hesitated, you got hurt in the process. So my hesitation was, I wasn't taking a leap of faith. I sat down on this ledge and I was panicking, and like even there was tingling in my legs. It's like it's real like panic attack where you feel like spiders crawling from inside of you. And I'm not scared of spiders, but it's like tingling throughout your whole entire body. And it's like, I'm about to die. This is it. And I don't want to go this way. I don't want to die. I want to live, right? And at this moment, it's rational, but at the same time, it's irrational because I got the harness. I'm protected and I'm safe. In reality, each and every one of us, even though we don't see a physical harness, a physical line that will keep us from really drowning and from falling into our death, we have one. The universe has our back. It protects us. It is there for us, each and every one of us, and it prepares us for everything. So I sat down and I was holding on to my harness, and it wasn't even a jump. It was more like I just like fell forward. And because of that, I spun, and there was a net on the side, and I hit the net on the side, and it wasn't a bad hurt. It just hurt my foot a little bit because of how I landed on that net. But I didn't ended up where I was meant to end up, right? On that other net hanging on it. Whereas the other girls, from what I remember, because when you're in this fight or flight or freeze state, and I was in the freeze state, I was frozen with fear, pure terror, basically. From what I remember, the girls, and hey Debbie, how are you doing, beautiful? Debbie says my niece is listening with me. Oh, awesome. Hope she's learning a thing or two about fear as well. Hello, Debbie's niece. So from remember the two girls behind me, maybe they got courage from watching me. But I remember them both jumping, no problem, no problem. And I thought, wow, they're so brave, so awesome. But we all have things that we're brave with and at, and other things that we're not so much so, that we can learn from others. But then when it came Jackie, hello Jackie, how are you doing? And then when it came the point where we were doing the zip lining, and the zip lining is from the top of the tree, one of the tallest trees, because little by little you kind of like end up in the tallest area, and then there's the hills. And with that part, honestly, there was a little bit of that fear and hesitation, but I think because I watched the girls jump and do something, to me that was the scariest thing ever, that this was no longer scary. So, meaning that when it comes to our fears, some fears that we have are greater than others. And in order for us to lessen the hold of one fear, we must face a lesser one. So we can start to rebuild our confidence and our belief in ourselves and in the universe. And also when it comes to trust, the whole phrase of trust the process, trust the universe. The reason why most people struggle with trust in the universe is because subconsciously they do understand that they are the universe, that the universe exists within them. And how can you trust the universe that is you if you don't actually trust yourself? So you got to learn to trust yourself little by little, and then you will learn to trust the universe. And that really honestly starts with, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't put things off to do for tomorrow, because what you're really saying is that I don't want to do this, so I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes today, which means that tomorrow will always stay tomorrow. And when you start to understand how the universe communicates with us through us, because we are the universe, how we're communicating with ourselves through language, through words, and you start to understand the meaning of words, that tomorrow means tomorrow, and it will always be tomorrow, which means that it will never actually happen unless you put it in the calendar. You have a specific date and time and perhaps a place of what you're going to do and when you're going to do it and get it done. You gotta schedule it. If it's not scheduled, if it's not in your calendar, it's not going to happen. And that similar approach can be applied to, let's say, habits you want to change. You gotta put these new habits in your calendar. If, let's say, you want to start waking up at a certain time, it's called wishful thinking unless you have an alarm, and you do something about that part of you that will be resisting this change of waking up early or snoozing the alarm. What helped me was understanding and this phrase of when I choose to snooze my alarm, that choice that I'm making in snoozing my alarm is not about the alarm itself. It's about the choice that I'm making on snoozing myself, my wants, my desires, my dreams, my life, and my business. I'm snoozing all of these things. So it's not the alarm itself. It's how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're choosing to snooze your alarm first thing in the morning, you're choosing to snooze yourself. You're choosing not to trust yourself and not to believe yourself. So then how can you trust the universe? And some of you might be having fears with this because today's topic is screw fear, take back your power. This could be one of the things that you're scared of, is choosing to not snooze you, yourself, your life, your existence, and choosing to have a longer day instead of a shorter day. Because one point in my life, I was snoozing a lot over and over, and it was crippling, and it was causing me a lot more anxiety. It was the whole concept and the whole approach and this habit of snoozing and sleeping in and going back to sleep was in many ways crippling me and bringing me down, because I was just proving to myself how much of a failure I was. And when I started to recognize that I'm snoozing on all these things, and really I'm just snoozing on the best life I could ever live, part of that is rooted in fear as well. Because in order for us to live the life that we all say we want to live, we dream of living and having, we must give up A, B, C, or maybe the whole alphabet, and change so many things in our life. And we're scared of change. It's natural. We are scared of change because change brings many of unknowns. One of the unknowns is, it's great to have this vision of a life that I see myself living, but I don't know who I am truly going to be when I'm there. What if I turn out to be this type of a person, or this type of a person, or this type of person? What if then I don't give enough time and attention to my family, or don't spend enough time with them? A lot of different what ifs. It's a scary cave. And this is the biggest fear that all of us have and carry. The fear of unknown, the fear of success, which is attached to the fear of failure. And that means that yes, we're all scared of failing, but what we are really scared of is succeeding and then potentially losing it all and failing. But if you got there once, you can do it again. And when you're going to do it again, you're going to do better at it. Each time that you succeed of achieving something or reaching something in your life or in your business or in your career or in your relationships, each time you do that, you're going to get to a better place and a better place and a better place. And you become smarter, wiser, stronger, and more mature and evolved, and everything starts to improve in your life when you focus on one thing that you want to tackle. One of those fears that you have identified that is on your list, when you tackle one, some of them might entirely disappear and you will no longer be scared of them, because by tackling this one fear, other ones were connected to it. And then you tackle the next and you tackle the next. And there will always be some new things that you will be maybe not so much scared of, but uncomfortable with. And then you go and you face that and you do that. You were not meant to live and exist in the comfort zone. I honestly believe that this is one of the things that we have all been conditioned into being fearful of almost everything and anything, and not being taught how to overcome our fears, overcome our even discomforts, and then also getting out of the comfort zone. They don't teach classes on this in school either. So now we're living in the society that almost like praises each other in living in fear, and continues to encourage everyone and condition a program everyone to live in fear that you're not even aware of. There's even frequencies and vibrations that are being emitted through certain programs, certain channels, or certain songs that have been pumped into us that we are not aware of, that is triggering us. Maybe not right away, and often it is not right away, but it affects our cells, our bodies, and then it carries into our days and weeks, and we feel a certain way and we're not sure as to why. And this is why it's good to do inventory in a form of, what did you, if you're feeling a certain way today, what did you do today? What did you do this morning? How did you start your morning? How did you end your day yesterday? As you were falling asleep, before you were going to bed, for the hour before you were going to bed, what were you doing? What did you expose yourself to? And then what did you do in the afternoon? What did you do in the lunchtime? What did you do in the morning that previous day? What did you eat? What didn't you eat? What did you drink? What didn't you drink? Everything that you've put into your body, whether it's a physical object or a mental object, whether you watched or you listened to things, because every single thing affects you. And this is where you also become fearful of certain things that you were never fearful of before. And now all of a sudden you are. And you might even struggle to put one foot in front of the other, figuratively speaking. So, and in the end, we all want to win. Every person wants to win and wants to feel like a winner. Not, hopefully not at the expense of someone else, but themselves, with themselves, in a sense of winning and being a better version of you today than you were yesterday. But if you're not a better version of yourself today from your yesterday and your day before, then why not? What's holding you back? What fear is holding you back from being and becoming the best version of yourself today, that will bring you closer to a better and best version of yourself tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and tomorrow, and being better every single day? And then before you know it, you will be the best version of yourself, and you will love her, you'll appreciate her, and then you will start to get comfortable, and you'll start to get uncomfortable in this new comfort place, and you will seek out new ways to become a better version of yourself. And that's a powerful place to be, where you are seeking out these new opportunities, these new ventures, these new things that you want to do or try or become or learn, that will help you to be even better and better and better. And if you're struggling to do that for yourself right now, then who in your life would you want to get and be and become better for? Because not, the concept of I must become the best version for myself is great, but the reality is that we all have a person or people in our life that will benefit from us becoming a best version for them. And sometimes we're simply not ready to do what it takes to take the steps, to do the actions to become that best version of ourselves for ourselves. But when we start thinking of people outside of us, our kids, our partners, our friends, our parents, and when we see that, yes, I'm not ready to become this best version of myself for me, but I am ready to become the version of myself for my kids, because it's going to show them, it's going to teach them, it's going to program them to continue working on themselves. And I become ready to do those things because I take that outside of me, and then it becomes um, a motivation for me, becomes inspiration for me. We all find our motivations and our inspirations in different ways. For some of you, you find it within. For the rest of you, you find it outside of you, externally. Within, without, right? And there is no wrong or right way of finding and getting and having that meditation. Hello, Lisa. Good afternoon to you as well, beautiful. And just find wherever you find that motivation and go and do the thing that you are scared of doing. Go and tackle that fear. You gotta call that fear out as the BS that it is. You gotta rationalize and even ask yourself, what is this fear protecting me from? Or what is this fear holding me back from? Understand what is the purpose of this fear, because there is a purpose, and that fear is actually coming from that little voice within you that at this point you might not even hear as a voice in the form of words or thoughts. It might be just an emotional response or emotional reaction to something, but that voice comes from that inner critic, from the voice of that gremlin, the voice of that imposter. Just different words for the same thing, different titles for the same little voice within you that is trying to keep you safe and protected. And it expresses itself through fear. And that's one way it expresses itself, through fear. And it keeps you safe and protected so you do not get hurt, so you don't, quote unquote, die, because you feel like you're about to jump off and take that leap of faith from this piece of wood onto that net that feels like it's miles away when it's not. And it's telling you you're about to die, don't do this. But the reality is, if I jumped from this board onto the net, I would have felt unstoppable. I would have felt so proud and so confident in myself and in my ability, in my mental stability, that I would have wanted to do it again and again and again. So do you see the power and the magic of breaking through fear? Working through fear, with fear, and seeing it as an opportunity for growth and evolution, seeing it as the flag that says, over here, come over here, this way. It's like a marker on your path, on your journey, that says, you go in this direction, you do this, you're going to break through this fear. You don't know who you're going to be on the other side, but if you pause and think, if I do this, what are the benefits? What are the advantages and disadvantages of me doing it? If I jump, what's the advantage? Which I already just shared. I'm not going to repeat myself. But what's the disadvantage? I can't think of any disadvantages. Potentially landing and hurting myself, but I already done that by hesitating. So there's no disadvantage of that. Now, which one do I want to do? really, it's a process of you understanding what it is, what that fear is, where it's coming from, what it's telling you, why it's telling you these things. You don't need to go into your past of essentially where it came from. Yes, that might be helpful, but it's not necessary for change all the time. In some cases, yes, but in many cases, no. Just need to understand that fear, that message that it's holding for you, it's caring for you, and remind yourself, even, has there been a time in your life where you have taken that leap of faith? Yes, it has. Because when I was young, growing up, I remember, um, I remember, uh, so here in Canada and in the States, similar, you know how you have like storage units? You have, it's almost like a garage door, and then you have a storage unit in there. So back in Russia, we had similar concept, but this is where most people, they did use it as storage, but it was also for parking because there was no parking for cars, and many people didn't even have cars. So in many ways, it was used as storage. So many of them were finished, some of them were not finished, some of them just had um, the rectangular walls in them. So long story short, I used to run around that area, and this is not where you see kids, this is not where you see women either, but I would be running around in that area, and then all of a sudden in one area I saw that there was a pile of sand, which was very far away from the roof of this building. The roof must have been like 12 feet tall, and then the pile of sand. So long story short, I, no hesitation, nothing, I jumped onto the pile of sand more than a handful of times. So I've taken that leap of faith. I know what that feels like. And it's that fear of, you've even had dreams where you're falling and all of a sudden you wake up because you feel that jolt in your body. It's like adrenaline. So that's what really I was scared of. I was scared of feeling that jolt that reminded me just how alive I was, and proved to me that if I can do this, I can do anything. Even though everything else is different, but at its core, it's the fear itself. If I can break through this fear that is crippling me, I can break through any other fear. So now, question that I have for you now that we're at the end of our podcast together today and this magnificent Thursday. So how did you uncover that you are going to, I'm going to use the words from the title today, that you're going to screw fear? How are you going to basically work through that fear? How are you going to do it? And perhaps you already know which fear it's going to be. So how are you going to do that fear? Work through that fear and own that fear and make it your bitch. And then what are you going to do today to make that happen? Not tomorrow, and not tomorrow, and not tomorrow, but today. What are you going to do today? So let me know. I'd love to see what comes up for you and what you're going to do, and then actually do it. So if you want to even come back and comment on your comment and say, I did it, and leave the check mark, or I did it and it's done, complete it, and then let me know how you feel, I'd love that. And I don't recommend starting with the biggest fear. I recommend starting with the smallest fear that feels really reachable and attainable, that you're here for the long term and a marathon and not a sprint, that you want to build your confidence one step at a time. Because if you start with the biggest one, what might happen, especially if you're still in the process of healing yourself and recovering and healing your mindset, is that you might start to view overcoming fear as one of the biggest challenges ever, because you're going for the biggest, the scariest one. And then it might hold you back because you feel and you would start to believe that this is what you have to do every single day. But when you do little by little, you build and build and build and build and build on it to a point where you become unstoppable, one step at a time. Climbing a light tower. If you've ever done it, you got to do it one step at a time. And then closer to like getting past the middle, if you have good stamina, you start to get tired, and then closer to the end, you get second wind, and then you're good to go to the rest of it. And then going down, that's a piece of cake. So it's kind of like that with our fears. One step at a time, you're climbing this tower. Initially, you might be so excited and inspired and driven, I guess, to skip some steps, running, skipping the steps in the slide tower, but you're gonna get tired and exhausted really quickly and run out of juice. So one step at a time, so you don't run out of juice and it becomes easily attainable. And if you're using your fear list as your goal list, even better. Otherwise, that's all that I have and I want to talk about with each and every one of you today. I already asked you the questions that I would love to hear the answers to from each and every one of you. Thank you, beautiful ladies, on being live with me on here for the first time ever on my personal page with Get Used Together Weekly Live Guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak. And I'll continue doing them live on my personal page. So we'll see you here next week, every week on Thursdays at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time, live on my personal page. And this is where it becomes easier, where you can even share it with those that can benefit from this information, since it's no longer in a private group. And until we see each other next time, have an amazing the rest of your day, weekend. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being on here and interacting. See you next time. Bye.